Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunyabe Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Vishnupada Paramamsa Parividha Gacchaya Srimad. His divine loving grace, Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Sangha devotees, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Mam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Vitri Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Prani Namaste Sarvati Guru Pranapshani Akshi Sundari Pashita Desha Tarine Janmarya Shyani Tunvayat Itaritas Tartishu Avigat Svarat Te Nebrama Ridayav Kavi Moyanti at Suryaham, Tijo Farim Ridam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisarga Marisha Damnasvena Sada Lidastakurkam Sacham Param Dhimahi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. For the newcomers, not initiated, what means Om? What signifies Om? How is it translated? Anyone? Not initiated? Om? Yes? Huh? No. It's an impersonal address of the Lord, and it means complete whole. Yeah. Namo. What is Namo? Namaste, Namo. Obeisances. Om Namo Bhagavate. New persons? Anyone? Do you know? Bhagavate? Bhagavan? Do you know what Bhagavan means? Bhaga means opulences and Van means possessor. So, I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Lord, who possesses all opulences. And what are the opulences? Anyone? A newcomer? What is an opulence which you would aspire for in the material world? To be what? What are people aspiring for in the material world? Anyone? Strength. To be very strong. What else? Woman. To be beautiful. Famous. You know. And the brahmacharis? Renunciation. Beauty, fame, strength, wealth. And wealth. Everyone wants wealth. So God has everything in full. Move up a little, because I like to see everyone here. Can you move up a little? Everyone like this? Because I got a pain neck. My neck is pain. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And so it is not Vasudevaya, but it is Vasudevaya. Also when there's a little line in a verse, that means like, without it is an A, and with a line on it is an A. A, A. So Vasudev is the son of Vasudev. Vasudev is the father of Krishna. So I offer my obeisances, to the Supreme Lord, the son of Vasudev. The Lord liked to be glorified by associated with his father, mother, Devaki Nandana, Nanda Nandana, or Radha Priya, dear to Radha. Nandana means the darling of Yasoda, Yasoda Nandana, Nanda Nandana, the darling son of Nanda Maharaj. And, Radha Priya, who is dear to Radharani. So like that. Yes. So, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, verse, what was it? What is it on the board? 6? Huh? 1-9. Oh yes, let's see it. It's very small. Atista tata vimatsarastvam. Atista. So because the line is on the first, then it's not atista, but it's atista. Atista tata vimatsarastvam. Uktam samatrapi yat avyalikam. Uktam samatrapi yat avyalikam. Ararya roksaja parapatmam. Ararya roksaja parapatmam. Yadichase dhyasanam uttamo yata. Yadichase dhyasanam uttamo yata. Yeah, anyone? Atista tata vimatsarastvam. Uktam samatrapi yat avyalikam. Aradyad hoksaja parapatmam. Yadichate dhyasanam uttamo yata. Anyone else? Atista tata vimatsarastvam. Uktam samatrapi yat avyalikam. Radyad Hoksaja Parapatmam. Yadichate Dhyasanam Uttamo Yata. Atistata Tata Vimatsarastvam. Uktam Samatrapiyat Avyalikam. Radyad Hoksaja Parapatmam. Yadichate Dhyasanam Uttamo Yata. What is this? No. Atistata Tata Vimatsarastvam. Uktam Samatrapiyat Avyalikam. Aradyat Hoksaja Parapatmam. Yadichare Jasanam Uttamo Yata. Atista. Just execute. That. Tata. My dear son. Vimatsara. Without being what? Envious. Tvam. Unto you. Very good. Uktam. Sad. Like he said something. Not sad. Not sad. Sad. Samatrapi. Who knows what we're talking about? So Sunichi is speaking about what the other mother, Matri, the other mother said. So by your stepmother, Yat, whatever, Avyalikam. Everyone knows that. They're all factual. They are all factual. Please repeat. Aradhya. Just begin worshipping. Yeah? Adhoksaja, the transcendence. Parapatmam. So we just sang it. So what is pada? Pada is feet. And patmam is, Guru Mukha Patma. Any of the Matatis, Patma? It's their lotus. So pada, patmam, lotus feet. So we sing here, right? Srina Singa Jana Singa Jaya Jana Singa Pradesha Jaya Patma Mukha Patma. So learn then you know what you've seen. Mukha is like in the Prabhupada song too. Mukha is face, Patma feet. All right. Where was I? Mukha? Oh yeah, sorry, I'm in a word for word. Yadi, if Ichase, desire, Adhyasanam, to be seated along with, Uttama, your stepbrother, whose name is Uttama, Yata, as much as. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Why don't you give her the book in German that she can read it? Then she read it in German. So whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you desire at all to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you desire at all to sit on the throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The harsh words used by Suruchi to her stepson were true, because unless one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve any success in life. Man proposes, God disposes. It's all in the book. I'm reading now many chapters, verses. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, agreed with her co-wife's advice that Dhruva engage himself in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indirectly, the words of Suruchi were a benediction for Dhruva Maharaj, for because of the influence of his stepmother's harsh words, he became a great devotee. So I'm going to read a few more verses just till the end of what she said, because it is very hard to give a class the next verse, and there's not much to say, because like even yesterday he said already something what happened in the future. You should never say something in a class what's of the next verse, or else the person who's going to give the next day, he has to repeat it like that. So, and then if you run out of things to say, just take another verse. So I'm taking a few verses, and then I'm going to play my musical, those very two same, the instructions or the harsh words of Suruchi and the advice of Suniti, his mother, in music. So, text 20. Suniti continued, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead is so great that simply by worshipping his lotus feet, your great-grandfather, Lord Brahma, acquired the necessary qualifications to create this universe. Although he is unborn and is the chief of all living creatures, he is situated in that exalted post because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom even great yogis, by controlling the mind and regulating the life air, even the great yogis worship." Purport. Suniti cited the example of Lord Brahma, who was Dhruva Maharaj, what was it? Who remembers what I just said? Great-grandfather. Although Lord Brahma is also a living being like us, by his penance and austerity he acquired the exalted position of creator of this universe by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. To become successful in any attempt, one not only has to undergo severe penances and austerities, but also must be dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This indication had been given to Dhruva Maharaj by his stepmother and was now confirmed by his own mother, Suniti. Suniti informed her son, "Your grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, and thereby, with unflinching faith and devotion, he worshipped and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods." Purport. The success of one's life is measured by one's material happiness in this life and liberation in the next. Such success can be achieved only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word ekamacha means controlling one's mind on the Lord without deviation. The process of undeviating worship of the Supreme Lord is also expressed in Bhagavad Gita as ananya bhak, that which is impossible to obtain from any other source. Is also mentioned here. Other source refers to worship of the demigods. It is especially stressed here that the opulence of Manu was due to his undeviating faithfulness in the transcendental service of the Lord. One who diverts his mind in worshipping many demigods to obtain material happiness, he can worship the Supreme Lord. One second. If anyone wants even material happiness, he can worship the Supreme Lord without deviation. And persons who are desirous of liberation can also worship the Supreme Lord and achieve their goal of life. So, sakama, akama, mokshakama. So kama means desires. So if you is always the opposite. Like himsa silk, ahimsa silk. Himsa silk. And ahimsa silk is where the silkworm is killed in the process of making silk. And ahimsa silk, like this, is ahimsa silk. Yeah, my Lord. Ahimsa is where they take it just for the worms. And like that. Yeah. And ahimsa silk is generally very shiny. And ahimsa silk is not shiny. Yeah. So if anyone wants even material happiness, he can worship the Supreme Lord without deviation. And persons who are desirous of liberation can also worship the Supreme Lord and achieve their goal of life. My dear boy, she continues, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotee. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation. Just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart, and without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. Purport. The system of Bhakti Yoga described by Queen Suniti to her son is the standard way of God realization. Everyone can continue in his constitutional occupational duties and at the same time keep the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart. This was also instructed by the Lord himself to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Go on fighting, but keep me within your mind. That should be the motto of every honest person seeking perfection in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Queen Suniti advised her son that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Brija Vatsala, which indicates that he is very kind to his devotees. She said, you came to me crying, having been insulted by your stepmother, but I'm unable to do any good for you. But Krishna is so kind to his devotees that if you go to him, then the combined kindness of millions of mothers, millions of mothers like me, will be surpassed by his affectionate and tender dealings. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help the devotee. Queen Suniti also stressed that the process of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not easy, but is sought after by the great sages who are very advanced in spiritual advancement, spiritual realization. Queen Suniti also indicated by her instruction that Dhruva Maharaj was only a small child, 5 years old, and it was not possible for him to purify himself by the way of karma kanda. But by the process of bhakti yoga, even a child less than 5 years old or anyone of any age can be purified. This is the special significance of bhakti yoga. Therefore she advised him not to accept worship of the demigods or any other process, but simply take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the result would be all perfection. As soon as one places the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. She continues, my dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. Suniti pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, one will get the same result, but actually this is not a fact. In the Bhagavad Gita it's also stated that benedictions received from the demigods are all temporary and are meant for the less intelligent. In other words, because the demigods are all materialistically conditioned souls, although they are situated in very exalted positions, their benedictions cannot be permanent. Permanent benediction is spiritual benediction, since a spirit soul is eternal. It's also said in the Bhagavad Gita that only persons who have lost their intelligence go to worship the demigods. Therefore, Suniti told her son that he would not seek the mercy of the demigods, but should directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to mitigate his misery. Material opulences are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his different potencies, and specifically the goddess of fortune. Therefore, those who are after material opulences seek the pleasure or mercy of the goddess of fortune. Even the highly placed demigods worship the goddess of fortune. But the goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi herself, is always seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who takes to the worship of the Supreme Lord automatically receives the blessings of the goddess of fortune. At this stage in life, of his life, Dhruva Maharaj was seeking material opulences, and his mother advised rightly that even for material opulences, it is better to worship not the demigods, but the Supreme Lord. Although a pure devotee does not seek benediction from the Supreme Lord for material happiness, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material gain is gradually purified in association with the Supreme Lord. Thus he becomes free from all material desires and is elevated to the platform of pure devotional service, platform of spiritual life. Unless one is raised to the spiritual platform, it is not possible for him to completely transcend all material contamination. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva, was a far-seeing woman, and therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and no one else. The Lord is described herein as lotus-eyed, Padma Palasa Lochanat. So eyes, lochan is eyes. Many words for Netraya is also eyes. Kamala Netraya, lotus eyes. In Sanskrit, or even in our language, you have different words for one thing. When a person is fatigued, even if he sees a lotus flower, all his fatigue can be immediately reduced to nil. Do you have that? No, it's very beautiful. So you look and, very nice. It gives you happiness. Anything beautiful gives you pleasure to the eyes, That's ugly things, or dirt goes like, and the beauty of it, and or just like singing, and the musical instruments are in time, then and if it's out of time, it's like that. It's with anything. If food is prepared nicely, it's and if it's too salty, it's it's like that. It's just so simple. The worshippers of the goddess Fortune and Lord Vishnu together are certainly very opulent in all respects, even in material life. The Lord is sometimes described as Shiva Virinchi Nutam, which means that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also offer their respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. So it was verse 23, so the next one should be, then the great sage Maitreya starts speaking again, and it's about Narada Muni, next part. So that will be text 24, yes, for tomorrow. So, if you give me now the audio, pardon? Oh, I can't do that. I thought you do it by cable. The quality is not so good. Okay, so you do it for me. So if I play it, I will just put it on very... Say it again. Okay, sound. I go first to system setting. Sound. Okay. Sound.
Pardon? You can come also.
Come. It's professor.
It's connected already.
All right.
So maybe try to place it.
Okay. All right. So this is, I wrote 5 musicals. So one of them is the whole life of Dhruva Maharaj, and sung by singers like Gourangi. She is Sunit Dhruva Maharaj, and Suruchi, and Haraprana from Belgium. She is Suniti, and I myself am Narada. But you will only hear the first 2 songs. Okay, then we're going to play. I hope it's not too loud. Can be louder? I can do it louder here or there? Louder? I'll do it louder here then. Okay. Could be a little louder, no? It would really like powerful.
Swayambhu Brahmana, who was born of Lord Brahma, had 2 sons who were both very competent to rule the universe.
Can you understand
The
it?
eldest son, King Uttanapa, had 2 queens named Sumiti and his favorite, Suruchi. Once, the king was playing with his youngest son, Uttama, born of Suruchi. While he was thus engaged, his eldest son, Dhruva, who was born of Sumiti, wanted to join in the fun and tried to climb on the lap of his father, but the king was reluctant to let him do so, due to the disapproving glance of his beloved queen, Suruchi.
Child, his son, you might be. With that, I don't disagree. But that doesn't mean you can sit on his knee. You're not qualified, can't you see? Your attempt is doomed to fail. not born from me. Child, I don't think it's very wise to try to fulfill what you can't realize. You are trying to instill a desire impossible to fulfill. Only my offspring can please the king. Whatever you do won't change a thing. So, if you are still desiring to sit on the throne or the lap of the king, you'll have to forego living in luxury and undergo severe austerities to satisfy Lord Hari. And then, by his mercy, take your next birth from me.
The boy Dhruva, having been struck by the harsh words of his stepmother, began to breathe very heavily, as a snake does when struck by a stick. When he saw that his father remained silent and did not protest, Dhruva immediately left the room and went crying to his mother, his lips trembling in anger.
Oh, my darling, what has happened? What is wrong, Dhruva? Tell me.
Suruchi was very mean to him, Your Majesty.
What did she do to him, Kanti?
Well, Your Majesty, when Dhruva wanted to climb on Maharaja's lap, Suruchi told him that he could only do so by first pleasing the Supreme Lord and then
Yes?
to take birth from her.
Oh, Dhruva, don't wish for anything inauspicious for others, for anyone who gives pain to others will suffer himself that very same pain. Whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, however harsh, is true and relevant, as your father doesn't consider me his wife or even his maidservant. He became ashamed of me. It's the fact that you are born from the womb of an unfortunate woman. Oh, my dear son. Oh, Dhruva, if you desire to sit on the throne like your stepbrother, you'll have to follow the instructions of your stepmother to worship the Lord. It's true. Worship the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu, for simply by his meditation Lord Brahma acquired the qualifications to create this universe. And your grandfather, all his desires were fulfilled, and then he gained liberation. Therefore, take shelter of the Lord, who is so kind. My darling, if you want to succeed, you shouldn't forget that his lotus feet purification or liberation from the cycle of birth and death.
So. Now, Srila Prabhupada said that, these dramas are better than my books. And the reason why, because they become really real. If you see it on stage and you see the mother going like, and they say, oh, she's nasty. and you see Dhruva, oh, tough boy, when Narada goes and instructs him, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, it becomes alive. And from all these stories, all these pastimes, the Lord comes out, great. that you can see that he is so kind and it's so merciful. So what I find, it is very wow, actually. So this little boy Dhruva, he performed great austerities, and he was chanting not Hare Krishna, he was chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That was at that time Narada Muni gave instruction, chant this mantra so many times, like that, worship Tulsi. So, and we, and he was doing severe austerities, eating only little, only at the end not eating at all. And we in Kali Yuga, we just have to chant Hare Krishna and follow the 4 regulations. And because we are so fallen, we can't even, we cannot even sit with our both legs in yoga. Some people do, who do yoga. But, our body is useless, our mind is completely bewildered, agitated. So it's very difficult to perform the yoga processes which were which were prescribed in other ages. This is the Iron Age, and we live at the utmost 100 years. And before that was the Copper and the Silver and the Golden Age, in which they lived, human beings lived 1,000 years, 10,000 years, and 100,000 years. In order to perform Hatha Yoga, they had to meditate for 60,000 years. Like if you become 100, you have to meditate for 60 years, sitting like this, eyes half closed, staring at not closed, and you fall asleep, but staring at the top of your nose, which means you're like a little squinted. And then, eat just a little, and then practically afterwards not, controlling your life air, and then, to get perfection, that you see the Lord in your heart. Paramatma, the 4-armed form. So for us it's completely different, because we didn't make it in the Golden Age, we didn't make it in the Silver Age, nor in the Copper Age. So this Age of Kali is described, the people, and maybe you can recognize yourself, in this Iron Age of Kali, men are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, and unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So for us, the leftovers who are still here, who failed the exams in previous ages again and again and again. And so Lord Chaitanya appeared. So Lord Chaitanya, he doesn't always appear in Kali Yuga. So it's a very special Kali Yuga that Lord Chaitanya appeared. And he introduced the Mahamantra. So he's just chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. You can get the same perfection as the yogis who were doing like this, or the other ones who were giving lots of charity or lots of deity worship with everything gold and silver and perfect scented flowers and with the mantras rightly pronounced. And if you do a sacrifice, if you say the word wrong, then it has the opposite meaning sometimes, you know, and then the sacrifice doesn't work. So the brahmanas had to be very expert in, and you know, this long syllable, long, this short, and very paka, which means first class. So in this age we can't, and you know, we can't even pronounce things properly as Westerners. So that's why. No, that's why I don't know. It's just extra mercy that Lord Chaitanya appeared, so that we, those leftovers who didn't make it in previous ages, might be able to perfect their life in this lifetime. And what is so nice about Krishna consciousness, if you say, for instance, you become 20% Krishna conscious at the end of your life, then in your next life, then you have to take birth again. And you take birth either in a family of devotees or in a family of very rich people. If you take birth in a family of a king or of a rich man, then you don't have to worry about money, so you don't have to work. But the tendency is there, if you have lots of money, you get like 7 cars, or 10 girlfriends, or, you know, you really get into sense gratification, and then you wasted lifetime. But some people, when they acquire lots of money and fame, like some pop stars or millionaires, then that makes them inquire, I'm still not satisfied, just like my godbrother Ambarish, who's the grandson of Ford, the car company. So, you know, he's very rich. So, and he gave lots of charity to the temples here, to the temple there, this project, that project. So he saw that his parents were not happy, despite being so rich. And many others, so Giriraj Maharaj, his parents were millionaires. And so many of my godbrothers, their parents were millionaires. And they could see that their parents, they were fighting and they were not happy despite all their money. And they were attracted to Krishna consciousness. But then generally, if you're rich, most people have the tendency to enjoy their wealth. Therefore, it's better to take birth in a family of devotees. From the moment, you know, the first thing you eat is maybe Charanrita, and then you take prasadam, Mahaprasadam, and you just hear the holy name, and just like this little boy, or I don't know, they're chanting, and sometimes you see a little toddler of 2 years old, and he can hardly stand, and he's going to kirtan. He's dancing, because why? He did it already in his previous lifetime, and he just picks it up. So one time, one friend of mine, devotee, he had a daughter. She was, I don't know how old she was, maybe 4. At one point he said, suddenly, he said, that's funny, Pita, which means father. Now you're my father, and in our previous lives, I was your mother. So like that. So when I go on Sankirtan, which I don't, you know, but if I go, or if I meet someone, you know, sometimes people approach me because if I wear my robes, and they say, what is this, or whatever, you know. Then I said, can I ask you a question? I said, what is your first memory in this lifetime? And everyone likes to speak about themselves rather than someone talking about your Krishna consciousness is good and blah, 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 blah. They say, oh, interesting. Let me think. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes, then I say, do you remember when you went to school for the first time, or the kindergarten? You know, and, oh, yes. They remember when the grandmother passed away, or if something heavy, if they got an accident, they broke their elbow, or whatever. That they remember. But if nothing serious happened, then they have difficulty. But even, you know, I myself, I can only trace back up till 3 years, and that is because my brother was inside and had sweets. And I opened the door, and he closed the door, and it was an iron door, and my finger was here, this bit. I remember going on the zebra crossing to my mother. So if you have an accident like that, you remember that, you know. But I also remember when I was I don't know why, that I was in the garden when I was about 3 or 4. I don't know, just a faint memory. And sometimes when you see something, it sparks from, oh yes, I remember that when I was, you hear a sound, maybe of a song of when you were 4, which you heard on the radio, and then it comes back, flashes. Oh yes, like that. So then I continue speaking to them about at that time when you were 3 years old, you were attached to your doll or to your train or your ball, like that. And then when you got older, you were looking for girlfriends or boyfriends. And then, then your grandmother. So now your life is centered around your grandchild maybe, or around working in the garden. So while changing your body, your what you like, your desires changes also. And and then start preaching. So now it's 8:45. I have to leave very soon. So any questions about what I've said or what we've read or what you've heard? Everything very clear, isn't it? Still a question from you or from her? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Slowly, I'm a little deaf.
Okay, so starting from the end of the Guru Puja, we heard a lot about the lotus feet of the Lord and Guru Dev, and how it is the perfection of life to become attached to those. So my question is, what does it mean to become attached to the lotus feet, which is a little abstract maybe for me?
You see, in generally, if you fancy a girl or a boy, if you look at her feet, it's not really, even a girl, beautiful girl, her feet are not so pretty, And, but the lotus feet of the Lord, they are so beautiful. His nails are shining like mother of pearl. And they smell like, like perfume which Estée Lauder or all these perfume, Dior or make can't be compared to his smell. And he's smeared with sandalwood paste, which is also nice and camphor. So the goddess of fortune, she's all the time massaging Lord Vishnu's feet because it's soft, and she just that is pleasurable just to massage his feet, which are so soft and so nice and so beautiful. So when a yogi performs yoga, meditation, he meditates on the form of the Lord and on the feet first. And if he can see the feet first, then he goes upwards. I wrote a song about that too. How did it go? Which melody was it? Super. One day within my heart, I like to see those lotus feet, soft and sweet. And for the rest I forgot, but it's about the lotus feet of the Lord. And then gradually I go upwards. And then if I see his face and smile, I faint and cry. So anyway, all right. So that's why the lotus feet of the Lord are very beautiful and perfection of life if you see them. Anyone else? Okay? Yeah.
I don't have a question, honestly, just a thing I wanted to tell you a couple of days ago, and now I hope you don't mind me telling you in public. Just really inspired how long you've been doing this every day, and you're like the best preaching I've ever seen that you're doing is just simply coming to the program, singing with the devotees, chanting with the devotees.
I'm not. But if I'm visiting a temple, even if I have jet lag, and I feel obliged to go to Mongol Aarti and to the Sundar Aarti. And I love it also, because Mongol Aarti, if it's sung sweetly, then it's just peaceful, it's just like a massage for the mind, and I just love it. But if I'm if I'm at home, my life is based on creating songs, videos. So I get up sometimes at 7, sometimes late, sometimes I stay up till 12 or 2, because it's my service. I then focus on that, and then my chanting goes in between, etc. But if I'm at a temple, and I'm very often in a temple, you will see, like for instance, when devotees go to Vrindavan, they go on Parikram here, they go to see Govardhan, they're going to see, Radhakund, they go to see all the temples of devotees. When I go to Vrindavan, I just like to go to Prabhupada's Mongol Arti, and then Arti and Guru Puja, and then if it's Kartik time, to the Damodarastakam prayers and Sundar Arti. And then I don't have to go anywhere else. I'm just happy, and those deities are so gorgeous, I feel completely satisfied. Why should I see other deities? It's nice and very purifying, but, to go to Prabhupada's Mongol Arti is so auspicious. I even wrote a song about that, It's sung to a song of the Rolling Stones, Lady Jane, if you know that. And I say, my Lord Balaram, the second verse, permit me in the Dham to go on Parikram, which I don't, round Govardhan. Because my songs are not all about me, I have a song about losing a son, but I don't have a son. And I sing this song, my dear Lord, hear my prayer in my need. You have always been there. He was so young and afraid. Why, are you testing my faith? Then if so, you should know I miss him so. What have I done that was so wrong? For my son to die this young. You can take, you can give, so take my life and let him live. What have I done? So I was singing this in the garden of Vrindavan, of the Mayapur, that's amphitheater gardens, and one woman was crying, sobbing her eyes out. Later I found out her 25-year-old son had committed suicide. So I'm not singing this song anymore. Only if I would. I was invited to Cologne by Mother Damayanti because she lost a child of 3 years old. And after a year of remembering, she asked me to come and sing that song in the temple. So I sang it, but I'm not singing it anymore because I don't want to disturb someone's, and then it's here crying and etc. Anyway, so like that. So I'm at home. I'm focused on creating. So like I'm already dying to go home because this devotee from Czech Republic. He promised that he would make some drawings for me. So I'm gonna make things what he has to draw about. Madhusudana Prabhu from Czech Republic, he's a very great artist with stretches completely different from all my other videos. So I'm dying to make that and send to him so that I get another video done. All right, thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada, by whose mercy we have all gathered here together and hear about those wonderful pastimes of the Lord. Ki!
Jai!
Louder. Ki!
Jai!
You see, so also when you sing, I sing and then you respond. You have to respond in the same volume if you would lead the kirtan. So if you would lead the kirtan, you would say, Jaya Prabhupada, and then you respond, you go, Jaya Prabhupada, so, Sri Guru Charanapa, Sri Guru Charanapa. No. You have to give full energy. And more energy you give, the kirtan is more nicer. Because it's not the kirtan leader who makes it, it's those around it. And if they don't give themselves 100%, if they don't pick up kartals and don't sing loudly, then the kirtan stays like this. You see, so you have to, enthusiasm is the most important thing in Krishna consciousness. And then to be patient and to follow the footsteps of those who are successful and happy. And, learn in the scriptures how to become pure. From every story you will hear, yes, I shouldn't become angry. I shouldn't become retaliate when someone is angry at me. They'll go, and this way there's divorce. And they say, for instance, if the husband is horrible, you know, and the woman, and that's when, then it's unbearable. But if, in this case, the woman can bite her tongue, then afterwards the husband might say, oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I had problems with my boss, so I laid it on you. There's one story, it's called the story of the garbage man. Listen to it, it's a very interesting story. Okay, you have to go. Okay, so someone gets into a taxi, and then when just the taxi is driving off, some other car goes like this, and the taxi driver going boom boom with the horn, he goes, "Have a nice day." So the passenger says, "Excuse me, I'm baffled. You know, this man just cut you off, and you say, have a nice day." He says, "You should know, many people have a ballast of you know, they were just fired, or their wife left him, or something which makes them annoyed or angry or sad. So if they meet someone, then sometimes they just put it out on the next person they meet. And it's not personally, it's just they want to get rid of their frustration or anger. So don't take it personally. So generally, if someone shouts at you, etc., it's their problem. You know, sometimes you're completely innocent. For me, it's the most painful thing if I'm accused, say, for instance, of theft or something that I didn't do, that I did. I find it very hard not to say anything. You know, I didn't do it. No, I just let them ruffle until they find out themselves that I didn't do it, or like that. You see? And this way, that person, if he's a little, sincere, then he will excuse himself. If this ego is so inflated that he doesn't apologize, this is a problem. And he will cut off his devotional service a little bit, because he accused someone of lying who didn't lie. Or, yeah, thank you.